One of our young people presented me with this cross that he made himself just before worship, and so I couldn't think of a better place to put it than around my neck. So, Thanksgiving without transformation? Question mark. I was trying to think of a Thanksgiving-related short quip that I could put out in the signboard out front with all the interchangeable letters. And, you know, I'm digging stuff around. Then I got into a rather mischievous frame of mind, and I was home with my wife, with Ann, and I wrote down, Thanksgiving, full of turkey or full of God? And she looked at me and she said, nah, I don't think so. And I said, I don't either. So it didn't make it. It's wonderful to be married to a wise person, believe me. But you know why I was tempted. There's a message there that's worth lifting up. Thankful people aren't just filled with food, as nice as that is, or even gratitude for their families, as essential as that is, or of all the blessings and comforts that we have. It goes much deeper than that. At least, see, Thanksgiving is interesting because for us, it's a big holiday in our lives, but it isn't a biblical holiday. It isn't Easter or Christmas or, you know, some of the other spiritual days that we celebrate things. But it's the day we know that clogs the airports. People struggle to get home. There's a call to get together that is very powerful. Thankful people are humble people who know that their purpose in life is to experience their hearts as being full of God. And that changes everything else. True Thanksgiving, then, is an experience of transformation. Not an obligatory thank you. Oh yeah, let's say a prayer over the meal, then let's get down to it. Because a heart filled with God can never go back to what it was. Everything changes then. And it's infectious. I feel more alive when I've experienced people who are alive in God. The Boston Home is a care facility just over the line in Dorchester. It specializes in working with those who suffer from MS, multiple sclerosis. It's a remarkable place. All these people, need help just to get up and do basic bodily tasks. They're in wheelchairs. Many of them have to eat. They have to be fed by hand by somebody else. They have lost so much, and most are younger than myself, but so many exude a deep appreciation for life, for what they have. I don't have to encourage them to be thankful. They don't turn to God and offer the obligatory thanks with, like when you tell your kids, say thank you to your grandmother for that ugly shirt, and they go, thank you, Grandma, There's no affect, there's no fire in the eyes. Being thankful is just a part of their lives. And like I said, it's infectious. I come home from there, and Ann can always tell because something lights up inside me because of them. Sister Jose Hobday. You might wonder why that is, but a lot of orders of nuns, when you make your final vows, you receive the name of a saint, and many of them were men. So she received Jose, which is Joseph. She grew up in the Southwest with a Native American mother and an Anglo father.
When she became a Franciscan sister, as a young woman, she was given the name Jose. I do not know what her given name was. She grew up tough, the youngest of 12 kids. That's hard enough, but all 11 of her siblings were brothers. She was the only girl, and she was the baby. So at once, she was the princess, and she was the football of the family. She told us that when she was in her 40s, by the time she reached her mid-40s, all of her 11 brothers were dead. What a family. I mean, I'm sure there were stories, but she said alcoholism, violence, racism. Terrible story. She was the only one left. But she was a life-giving person, not given to self-pity or bitterness. There wasn't an ounce of revenge in her. This story helps our understanding of her transformation. She was a strong-willed child, and her mother continually worked with her to try to, confront her with new experiences, to open her heart, channel all that energy. Her mother would often bake things for older people in the neighborhood, and she'd send her daughter over to deliver them and have a chat. Don't just leave it on the doorstep. Talk to them. They live alone, or they don't get out. They're lonely. But I want to go play. This is important. You can play later. Do this. And she would send her over. Well, one day she sent her over to visit Mrs. Casey, who had had a bad case of cancer and, believe it or not, did not have a nose. And she just had a bandage across that part of her face below her eyes and above her lips to cover the opening. And because of her medication, there was a foul odor about her that she could not get rid of. This was all kind of tough for a 9-year-old girl. And besides, she wasn't just a 9-year-old girl, she was a willful 9-year-old girl. So when she got home after that trip, she announced she was never going to go there again, and that's all her mother needed to hear. She sent her back regularly. And she would grumble and mumble and stuff, but she went. Then her mother announced that she'd invited Mrs. Casey to the house for Thanksgiving dinner. I'm not sitting near her. And of course, her mother sat her right across from her at the table. Of course, her mother, took over again and again and kept trying to confront her with her rigidity and, her self-preoccupation, which we all need help with. Once a year on Thanksgiving, though, her mother made the princess's favorite treat, sweet potato puff. She took sweet potatoes, marshmallow fluff, cinnamon, brown sugar, and I don't know what she did, but she baked them in the oven. They were scrumptious, and the young girl looked forward to it all year. Well, they sat at the table. She's looking across at Mrs. Casey, and the plate that has all the treasured sweet potato puffs are on it. And one of her brothers, who was her worst tormentor, took 2. There was just enough for one for everybody. He took 2 because his sister, the princess, was last in line. That meant he thought she wouldn't get one. Now, if the company had been there, she would have bellowed and complained and made a fuss, but she couldn't do it, and he knew that. So the plate goes round and around, and it got to Mrs. Casey, and she counted how many pieces there were, and she counted how many people, and she passed the plate. She didn't take one. And that really mystified the young girl. It struck her. When it got to me, she said, there was one left, and I felt terrible. Well, at least I had the good sense to cut it in half and offer half of it to Mrs. Casey. When I did, she said, something strange happened. She smiled. She didn't smell anymore. She looked like a lovely person with bright eyes. I could sort of see her soul. She took the half I gave to her, and we had a great Thanksgiving dinner. Now, that's not a real big deal, in terms of the world has had many other signs of generosity, self-sacrifice. But the point is, it was a Thanksgiving event, and it was transformational, and it changed her life. Transformation unleashed through a simple gesture of kindness. The odor from Mrs. Casey's medication hadn't magically disappeared. That happens in fairy tales sometimes, but not in real life. What had happened? It just didn't matter anymore because they had experienced something deeper and more special together. A young girl discovered that there was a lot of love out there, no matter how it was packaged. And she discovered that her heart, too, was full of God, and Mrs. Casey helped her to discover that. She went to spend her whole adult life as a sister, remarkable woman, and she spent her life giving her life and love away, and she did a remarkable job of it. So, I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. I don't mean to say things like this to have you feel guilty or begrudging of the good times you're going to have. Whatever your plans, wherever you may travel, enjoy it. And may we all have the grace to be with some people we'd rather not be with. And may they have the grace to find a way to be with us. Happy Thanksgiving, right? And may the transforming Spirit of the living God catch us by surprise. Amen.